All right, everybody, this is Steve with Real Progress in Action. Folks, quite frankly, I don't want to die. That's the deal. I don't want to die. And, I've watched as we have seen our media literally acting like this is just an opportunity for capital to make a profit off of us. They're trying to rush us back to work. They're trying to get people back to the square. Why is that? Because by doing that, they can avoid the responsibility of the federal government subsidizing the entire freaking economy. And they don't want to do that because once the government does subsidize the economy, once it does completely and utterly take over the economy, the concept of capitalism will be completely null and void. The idea of the businessman being the all-powerful will be completely null and void. The idea of us having to die for the man, for capital, will be over. It'll be done. And they know that if they let the cat out of the bag, if they cut away all of the pain, if they focus on allowing us to live, that it will take away the deity that is the rich. Now, I'd like to say that it's just the corporate Democrats that do this to us. I'd like to say it's just the Republicans that are doing this to us. But sadly, it's our own movement that's doing this to us. Why is that? Because they erroneously believe that the way we're going to come up with money to pay for this is by businesses, by the rich giving us masks, by the rich donating ventilators, by the rich taking care of us. And in the process of that, what happens is the rich continue to be gods. They get to continue to be titans of the universe, while simultaneously not being able to closely touch the amount of help needed to save lives, to save enough lives, which the federal government could do instantly. The federal government could do it instantly, but instead they want to give the appearance that business is saving us, that the rich people are saving us. And what they don't tell you, because you're too busy saying, oh my God, thank you, sir. Thank you for donating some ventilators that don't work. Thank you for donating some ventilators that make the problem worse. Elon Musk. Thank you for being such great, wonderful, benevolent people. Thank you, dear sir, for giving us these things. No, there weren't enough for our people. But just imagine if they hadn't given us these things. Think of all the people that would have died were it not for the goodwill of the rich, who out of the goodness of their hearts managed to give us nice things. See, it's this lie that we go because we want to eat the rich, right? And there's good reasons to eat the rich. They don't taste great, but from what I understand, it will help out with some equality issues. But the problem is by deifying the rich, both good and bad, by demonizing them in this way, we set the stage for it to appear that the only way we can survive this is by the good graces of the wealthy. You need to think about what I'm saying here. If the federal government is we the people, and it's not completely co-opted by big business and the wealthy and the plutocrats and the oligarchs and so forth, if the federal government is really we the people, why do we continue as we the people to deify the rich, thinking that they are the way, the truth, and the life, and the only way that we're going to be able to survive a pandemic? I think we've already seen in spades that this is not the case. But there are still significant factions that think somehow or another we have to eat the rich to save the poor. And it's in that faulty, false logic that we will avoid the very opportunity for our federal government to flex its muscles and save every life by marshaling those resources. Now, I want to tell you how bad this is. In Wisconsin today, people were packed voting in a primary that, quite frankly, the Democrats don't have to honor the outcome. They can simply select who they want to be their nominee. People went to the polls, packed tightly together, to vote for a primary that may or may not have any impact on who they select to be the nominee, because it's a private corporation. And people may die. And then to top it off, as if it isn't bad enough, Bernie Sanders says, I want to have a one-on-one debate with you. I'm still running for president. And Joe Biden says, I'm not going to debate you, Bernie. Joe Biden, who is already trying to fill out his cabinet. Joe Biden, who can't tie two words together in a coherent sentence. That same Joe Biden. Now, I want you to understand, I don't want to fucking die. I don't want my kids to die. Hell, I don't even want you to die. I don't even want Joltin' Joe Biden to die. I'd like to have him pilloried in the town square. But I'm not looking for death here. I want to survive this, and I want to render these assholes impotent. But it's not going to happen. Our media has been complicit in painting this narrative. The economists of the orthodox variety have been busy painting this narrative. And to be quite frank with you, I think that if anybody should die, and I'm not in the business of trying to play God here, but if anybody should die, it's the neoclassical economists who have outright lied to us about the affordability of saving our lives. I think every one of them should be drawn and quartered, but that's just because I hate them. I don't have any warm thoughts for them. I hate them because they have been if you remember Lord of the Rings, and you remember Grima Wormtongue in Return of the King, and you remember him in The Two Towers, and oh, yes, sir, absolutely. Oh, you are to die. And the guy's shriveling up and dying, right? Grima Wormtongue. That is the neoclassical Krugmans of the world. That is all these other bullshit artists that aren't modern monetary theorists, that aren't people of the post-Keynesian variety, these people that don't understand money creation, that are running around and saying false narratives that keep us from actually surviving. I really believe they are mass murderers. Hey, man, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that they are not mass murderers. I make the case that they are, because how many people have died from a lack of federal spending in America alone? How many people have died around the world in other countries for this idea of austerity and this idea of fiscal prudence, being fiscally responsible? How many people have died from eating their peas, Barack Obama? Well, in the midst of a pandemic, you don't want people trying to eat their peas, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to create desperation, and you're going to have suicides. You're going to have other types of death than just a virus. And it's brought on by these neoclassical economists who are the soothsayers and the Grima Wormtongues to our political class. They do the bidding of the wealthy. They don't do the bidding of the people. And unfortunately, too many of the voices of the people don't understand economics. And because of that lack of economic understanding, they put forward really, really stupid ideas. Ideas that don't make any sense if you do understand economics. And more importantly, ideas that rely heavily on the idea that we can't get nice things until we take it from the rich. It's shameful because it's game time. This isn't preseason. This isn't practice. This is the real deal. We already saw 10 million jobs go in a blink of an eye in the United States. I talked about it the other night that the curve for the unemployment is not measured in horizontals. It's measured completely in a vertical. And we haven't even begun to see the end of that vertical line. If you were to measure that line, it would be up here, way up out of the thing. Way, way up. We've brought the economy to its knees. We put it into a medically induced coma to try to prevent the spread of this disease we don't have really good answers for yet. And the cure, with all the social distancing and the quarantining and the, staying where you are, for some people, they're not going to be able to handle that. And the cost of Medicare for all, the cost of being able to give people masks. I mean, for God's sake, try to find a mask online. See if you can find a surgical mask now that they're telling everybody that they should wear them, period, around. You can't find them. They're canceling orders. You go out there and you order it, they're canceling it. They're saving it for the first responders, and rightfully so. But with the rest of us, there's not nearly enough. And while people are busy talking about eating the rich because they just don't get it, the federal government is sitting back giving you pennies and telling you to enjoy it. Now, I want to talk about something very, very controversial momentarily. I spoke about it the other night. Jimmy Dore was very hard on Bernie Sanders, and he tried to make it out to be that Bernie didn't fight for us. He kind of let this horrible corporate bailout go through. That horrible corporate bailout, no question, sucked the biggest zombie junk you've ever seen. Big, huge zombie dick. It sucked. But the deal is that there was only a couple people that understood the gravity of this thing and the need for people to have some money coming in right away, given the fact that they were in such a minority. They would have been pilloried, that they held back. They held back the little teeny bit of relief they could give. Well, in the middle of all this, Bernie had already been putting forward a plan. Rashida Tlaib had already been putting forward a plan. There were already bold progressive plans in the making. People are saying, oh, there's no leverage anymore. Well, I beg to differ. The only way there's not leverage is if you and I don't raise hell. If we just sit back and let people die, then yes. If you're content with that, I don't want to die. So I'm not going to be that guy. But Bernie Sanders took pennies to fight for another day, to get people something. Was it a good deal? Fuck no. Do you think he thought it was a good deal? Fuck no. Do you think he thought he had a prayer in hell to overcome that? No, he didn't. AOC went out there and railed on it, but guess what? She voted for it too. Why? Because it was the only game in town at the time that had any momentum, and they passed it because people needed something. Unfortunately, nowhere near enough people got it, and nowhere near enough people are going to survive this complete and utter shutdown of the world because the federal government is not responding even in this moment. There's ideas of Medicare for all. There's ideas of small business cares, loans and no interest loans and all kinds of stuff. But the fact of the matter is it's so pennies on the dollar, man. It is so dinking and dunking around the edges. It's pissing in the ocean. It is nowhere near adequate. And it's that right there. It's that lack of our ability to push back and say, what the hell are you doing? That makes it so shitty bills like that become the norm. if we want to live, and you got to want to live, folks. You got to care enough to fucking want to live. You're going to pay attention to the economics, period. You don't pay attention, that means you don't really give a shit. If you don't give a shit, that's a real serious problem, isn't it? That's a real serious problem if you don't give a shit. Because it is literally the only way to marshal the resources we need. I spoke about this again, and I want to make sure we take a moment to really, really talk about this. Pavlina Cherneva, okay, of Levy Institute, put forward a proposal of nationalizing payroll, meaning everybody gets their payroll. The federal government backs the payroll. They make those payments so that no one loses their job. And then immediately on the heels of that, a federal job guarantee and cash assistance for those that did. And for those who were unfortunately in the service sector that got laid off completely, that have nothing. No tips, no nothing. We're not doing stuff like that. Why are we not doing stuff like that? Because if you're watching mainstream media, they're not going to tell you any of this crap. And if you're watching other alternative media, they're going to be busy bashing on Bernie instead of talking about this shit. Because it's more important that they get their digs on Bernie than it is to actually be in the solution. And folks like Dylan Ratigan are not your friend. They are not out there fighting for the right causes. I mean, they say things, but then their economics is that of a neoclassical bullshit artist. And people die for that ignorance. Do you get this? I'm serious. So the United States, which is the shining light on the hill, it is the bastion of freedom, it's all these wonderful things, the strongest, greatest nation in the world, is the worst. People are talking about it would be better to stay anywhere but in the United States because we have such poor health care, because we have such poor access to care, because we take care of our people so shabbily, because it's in the name of ensuring that business gets to take care of your needs, not the federal government. This perverse, warped, disgusting Republican / laissez-faire / Ayn Randian / corporate Democrat / neoliberal bullshit approach to the world demands that business have the first stab at trying to satisfy our needs. And they'll let as many people die as need be before they step in and insert the public purse. Are you willing to accept that? If you're watching alternative media that's putting forward bullshit economics, you're doing that, by the way. You don't realize it, but you are. If you're watching mainstream media that puts this stupid shit out there, you're hurting us too. If you're not making demands of your federal government to serve the people, and I mean bold fucking moves here, you're hurting the people. If you're a journalist and you're writing articles about the economy and you're talking about financing deficits, you're doing it all wrong. You're hurting people too. The government creates currency, God damn it. Stop acting like it is hamstrung. It has no way to help people. Of course it does. Of course it does right now. Imagine right now, instead of sacrificing millions and millions of people to the altar of capitalism, the fatted lamb of capitalism, the federal government stepped in and said, no, hell no. This is about protecting our people. It's about making sure people don't hang themselves in solitude. Imagine if they did that. Well, it isn't going to happen because the people that pay attention are the capitalists. They understand the system very well, and they know that the minute that they give in to you and I, without us knowing, without us making demands, that they're going to lose their foothold. They're going to lose all their power. So the only way they give this power up is with you knowing that they can't hold that power without our consent. And our consent comes in the form of ignorance. We don't understand, so we just accept there is no alternative. But of course there's an alternative. And it is the federal government blowing the budget. Fuck the budget, man. Just spend what you need to spend. Create as much money as you need. And anybody that says, oh, you're just printing money, get them in a jail cell. Put them in a fucking jail cell. Literally. Anyone that says something about printing money and, oh, you're just going to be, put them in jail. Get them off the street. They're a danger to everyone. Get rid of them. Bounce. Skedaddle. Go. Because at the end of the day, this is the real thing. This is the fourth quarter. Actually, it's really the first quarter because this game is a long way out. Even if they start spending now, there's going to be a significant recovery period. And if you remember what Obama did, which was barely pissing in the ocean, he kept the longest non-recovery of all time. If we do the same mistake again, millions more will lose their homes. Why the hell have they stopped mortgage payments? For God's sake, why haven't they done that? Why are debt collectors still calling to find out when you're going to make your payment on your credit card? Why are they doing that? I mean, you can't even give a good blowjob for $5 to make to pay the credit card off because you got to wear a goddamn mask. How the hell are you going to do that? I'm dead serious. Folks, I mean, I'm making funnies up trying to mock this because it's that serious. The bill collectors are still fucking calling. The credit reports, the karma, the credit karma is still producing reports. Your credit score is dropping immensely. Why is that happening to anyone? Folks, this is all FUBAR, and it's all FUBAR because our government is allowing business to take a crack at making us so utterly frail and fragile that we'll take whatever pennies they throw at us and beg for their forgiveness for being such failures as human beings. We're so sorry we didn't plan for a rainy day. We should have known a pandemic was coming and we should have been ready. Of course we should have been ready. All the while your TV is full of advertisements for Xboxes and vacations, which most people can't even afford anymore. People are fucking shopping, popping tags at Nice is New and other freaking, Salvation Armies. People are going to die. And I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progress in Action. Have a great day, everyone.